Okay, we are live. I'm actually gonna do it this time. Ha! I don't know how many of you remember, but I tried to stream about a month ago, and I just could not get anything to work. And I struggled with it for like an hour, and nothing worked. Anyway, if you can hear me talking right now, let me know in chat. I checked my everything before I started, but I just want to double check and make sure that you can hear me through my microphone up here, that you can see everything. Let's go. I am super, super excited, actually. This is going to be a good time. So, the bass I've got here right now is actually the. Is it the oldest? It's probably pretty close to the oldest. Let's see. I can hear you. Okay, cool. So, that's actually how much of a delay we're going to have. So, we'll just have to work with that. I tried to make it as real time as possible, but, that's just the nature of streaming. Anyway, so I bought this bass back in 2011. I was working at a music store at the time, and the music store could not get rid of this bass. They just could not sell it, no matter what they tried. So I picked it up for about 250 bucks. I swapped the pick guard out, but otherwise this is a stock Squier Classic Vibe Precision bass. Let's see. Ooh, brutal delay. Yeah. I won't be moving super fast, so I'll be able to answer questions and we'll have a little bit of back and forth. We will make it work. It'll be okay. Like I said, I tried to make it as get the latency down as much as possible, but we'll work with it. I'm just thrilled that you guys are here and that it actually works. So, a couple of things here. I'm gonna pull out my close-up cam here. Switch to this. Okay. So one of the driving factors in me wanting to do this setup is you can see all this gunk on the fretboard. I haven't cleaned this thing in a very, very long time. The strings that are on it right now are, oh my gosh, how old are these things? They have got to be like a year and a half more. It's been a long time since I've changed them. It's not something I do super, super often, but it desperately needs it. The setup on it is actually pretty good. I'll still go through everything, like what to do with the bridge, pickup height, truss rod, and all that stuff. So let's first go over the tools that I've got here that we're going to need to do all this stuff. So, starting with this one, peg winder. So this is actually a pretty great peg winder. I think this is a Planet Waves one. You can see here. I picked this up for, what was it, like 10 or 15 bucks? And the cool thing about this is, in addition to it being wider to accommodate the bigger tuning pegs for bass, it has a built-in string cutter, which works really, really well. If you end up having to do this by hand, it's not a huge deal. You don't have to do as many wraps as you would for a guitar, but you can use something like these tin snips, and that will cut the strings just fine. I have both just to show you mostly. The other thing you will need is just a classic Phillips head screwdriver. The screws down here on the back of the bridge for the intonation, as well as pickup height. Both use just Phillips head screw. The other thing, and I just found this out today, is that you will need the appropriate sizes of Allen keys for your bass. And what I found out on mine today is that these down here on the saddles are metric and the truss rod is standard. I don't know why they're mixing and matching units, but that's how they decided to do things. And I would actually just go look up the manual for the specific sizes on yours. I'll tell you what mine are when we get to that point, but they're different for every bass. In fact, I had to go get a new saddle screw for this bass today, and it took them a while to find the right sized one. It's actually kind of a pain in the butt to get the right size. Let's see. What are the oldest strings you've ever had? I honestly think that the strings on this are probably the oldest strings on any bass that I've got right now. These have got to be like 2 years or more old. And I kind of like the way they feel. I might just keep these as backup strings because they actually sound pretty nice. But yeah, they're just old, and I'm using my other P bass with flat wounds as kind of my Motown bass. So we'll need to lean into that a little bit harder, I think. Okay, so Did I go over everything? Oh, the last thing I got here. Actually, I still have a couple things. I haven't gone over everything. I've got a toothbrush, and we're going to use that to clean the gunk off the fretboard. I've seen people recommend really fine steel wool, and I guess that is a particularly good option because it also polishes your frets. So if you have any unevenness or little like chips or whatever, it helps smooth those out. So that's a good option if you can get really fine grit steel wool. It's like a quadruple zero is what you'd look for. Oldest for me were 33 years. Oh boy, those must have been some vibing ass strings. That's great. The strings I've got today are just the classic green package of regular Ernie Ball strings. I got these for 20 bucks, so that's actually not a bad price for bass strings. Partially why I get them. This is a really important thing. You can absolutely use like software tuning for just like quick practicing or whatever, but I find that for like setup work and where you need precision for doing intonation, you need a good tuner. And like it doesn't have to be like a spectacularly expensive one. These can run for like 15, 20 bucks, but you absolutely need something that is better than like the built-in tuners on most software programs. I just find that they don't do well with bass and they're not precise enough to do intonation. Oh, the last thing, I've never used this before, but this was recommended to me by my local guitar shop. This is boar oil. I think they use this more for like with horns, but this is what we're going to use just a little bit on the fretboard to seal in, protect it against grime buildup in the future, and maybe I won't have to go so deep on it next time. But yeah, it's like a wood conditioner kind of a thing, so that's what we're going to be using for that. Okay. Let's see, I'd go with the grain of the fretboard if using steel wool. That is a very good point. So the grain is going this way parallel with your strings. But yeah, you want to be very gentle with that if you do end up using something like that. The first time I ever cleaned a fretboard, it was on my very first bass, my SR300. It was an Ibanez. And I didn't know what I was doing, and stupid me, I didn't look anything up on the internet before I tried, so I was just there with like a paper towel, like rubbing in circles trying to get the grime off of here, and it just took forever. I literally spent like 45 minutes just like scrubbing junk off the fretboard. When you get to this point where it is like mine, another thing I've heard people say is you can get like a razor blade and like scrape it just very gently. I'm at a point here where I can actually like scrape on it with my fingernails. It's got a lot of buildup. It's pretty gross. Okay, so first things first is we need to take the strings off of this thing. And hopefully I'm not going to bump my mic stand too much. It is very, very tight up on my bench here today. This takes forever without a string winder, so highly recommend getting one of those. Oh, another thing worth noting, some people say that you should not take all of your strings off at the same time. I think that is bogus. I don't think it matters one bit. Oh, and I guess I should say what makes me any kind of an authority on this. I worked at a music shop from about 2011 to 2015, and in addition to just selling guitars and basses, I would do like probably half a dozen setups a week just on random people's instruments as they would bring them in, or just like doing maintenance on the instruments that the store had. So that's my deal. I've just done this a lot. Got a little bit of experience. Oof. You guys want to see a close-up on this now that the strings are out of the way? Check this out.
Oh.
Okay. Hey! The dog's home! As well as Evelyn. Everyone say hi to Evelyn.
Hi.
Yeah, it's much faster. Yeah, you gotta have a string or the peg winder. It takes forever if you do it by hand. But yeah, you see this? And like if I scratch at it. That's pretty gross. Hide. Uh-oh, my button. There it goes. Maybe.
I believe in you.
I pushed the button up. Oh, now it's... We don't want a close-up of my water bottle. Stop. Okay. Okay. then we're just going to pull these out of here. And since I want to keep these as like backup strings, some people will actually just cut them right up here so that you don't have to deal with pulling the round part through the bridge. It's not too bad. If you're just throwing the strings away, though, that is a good option. And round them up like that. Twist them around. Poor fretboard. Yeah, it's been a little while. It's just got some, we'll call it vintage vibes. How does that sound? Okay. Just wind these around. How was your walk, by the way?
It was great, except I had to keep rustling garbage out of his mouth.
Oh.
And I almost stepped in other people's dog shit 3 times.
Well, we can't be having that.
No. Pick up after your pets.
Please.
Please, 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 please.
Oh my
gosh. It's not just a courtesy, it's actually a health hazard.
I feel like being a new dog owner, we just adopted Taco about a month and a half ago is all, has brought into sharp focus how easy it is to be a massive jerk when it comes to being a dog owner. And a lot of people are just not very good at being dog owners. Not very considerate. Like I literally see the I guess he's one of the maintenance guys who works for the apartment complex. See him out there with like the little like grabby hand and a plastic bag picking up poop, and it's like that's a job nobody wants to have to do.
Well, like here's the thing: if you have an animal, you are responsible for everything that animal does.
Oh yeah.
From morning to night, 24 hours, what they eat, what they shit, it's all your fault.
It's true. It's like having a kid that never grows up.
For 12 years.
For like 12 years. Yeah, Taco's a great name, isn't it? And I posted on Instagram, and one of my friends like, with missed opportunity, you should have called him Taco Pastorius after Jocko.
His full name is Taconius, so.
Taconius Pastorius. Good enough, right?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see how well this works. I've never actually used the toothbrush method for getting the gunk off. I don't think it's working all that good, if I'm being honest, folks. I think I do have a razor blade if we want to try that method. BRB stream, sit tight.
I have some just in the drawer.
Oh, do you have one right here?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
I don't, like, shit, how it smells not the same anymore.
Oh, any kind of a sharp edge will do. Just have to be very careful.
You can also snap it in half,
Ah, true.
too. That's what we used to do in biology class.
Okay. I'm gonna try real hard to not cut myself on this. Taconius is great, isn't it? Though it like sounds like simultaneously very dog, but also like very like proper at the same time. It's fun. You want to say hi, Taco? I bet you do. Come here. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Hey, don't lick me. I know you where you put your tongue, and I don't want it on my face. Good boy. He's fun. Very anxious, but fun. Okay, let's see if this works a little better. Whoop. Maybe this wasn't the play. Okay. Yeah, that kind of works. I'm not all that impressed by it, though. I think I just need to get some water on that brush. Okay, I think we can confirm that this is probably not the best way to do it. I've heard some people use a credit card for a fretboard. Taco says hi back. Let's actually try that. Do I have a card? old junky card. Maybe I got a business card. That'd work too. Huh?
Glad we don't have any Jehovah's Witnesses around.
Guys, okay, check this out. Here we go. This is the play right here. Not a credit card. This is my blood donor card. That way I'm not flashing a credit card up on stream. Hey, was that your plan all along? Ooh, trying to steal my identity? I'm on to you. Because you want to drag it back at an angle? This particular one, it might work better if you had a more rigid one. This one is very flexible. I don't know if you can see that very well. But it had too much give. Did not work very good. I have a feeling this is going to work pretty good, though. Okay, yeah. All right, Aang 202 with the clutch. This is the way to go if you got some fretboard gunk. Then we'll go over it again with the toothbrush, I think, and that'll get it all cleaned up. When I worked at the guitar shop, we had this stuff called lizard spit, and you would just use that in a cloth, and it would take anything off. It was good. It was really good stuff. But yeah, this stuff is nasty. Pro tip, every time you go to play your bass, make sure you've got clean hands, and that will prevent this from building up in the first place. Okay, yeah. That's working pretty well, I would say. Okay. Here, let me show you this. This is actually kind of satisfyingly disgusting. Uh-oh. The buttons went down. Bring it back. There we go. Yeah, you see this? That is gnarly. Ugh. Ugh. Okay, so I think we've got the most of the major gunk. You'll notice that there wasn't a ton above about the 7th fret because you don't make any money playing up here. You make all your money right here. Good? No good. That's a joke, just for the record. Okay, I think we need just a touch of water. Woo! Andrew spills half a bottle of water all over himself. Not too much. Who knew that on a Saturday night you'd be watching some guy in Utah brushing his bass with a toothbrush? Every decision that you've made thus far has led you to this moment.
Not only that, but the events from the beginning of time and matter, everything, anything that actually matters.
Oh, there's a little bit of gunk. Let's bust the old blood donor card back up here. What's the best beginner practice amp? I am kind of a Fender fanboy, and I really like the Fender Rumbles. And so one of them would probably be my recommendation. And I would say go as big as your budget allows. So they have the Rumble 15 that's like $100. I think that's a little overpriced for what it is. If you can go up to like the Rumble like even like the Rumble 40, that'll be pretty good. But like the Rumble 100 is where you start to get where you're loud enough that you can actually play with like a drummer. But yeah, the Rumbles are really good. The other like ultra budget option is if you don't want to, or if you don't care to have like an actual amp, there's the Vox Amp Plug, and I think you can pick those up for about like $40, and it's just a headphone amp, and you can like plug your phone into it so you can run your music through it and practice with it, and that's a pretty decent option if you want to go ampless and save your pennies for a bigger amp purchase later on. Life is pretty exciting in Utah. Dude, you have no idea. What was the craziest thing we've seen all week, Evelyn?
Like here?
Yeah.
Not a lot. There's not very many people out. We saw a lot of fun things over the summer, though.
Yeah, the outdoor stuff is good. And last summer was tough though. I used to do a lot of hiking, and last summer because everybody was so cooped up, like the hiking trails were just so crowded, and I kind of stopped going. Personally, my favorite amp is the Ibanez Soundwave 35. They're kind of old, but they sound great. I have never even heard of that one. What was what was the amp? There was an Ibanez amp, and it had the same name as one of the Alien movies. Started with a P. No, not Predator. Dang it! What was that stinking thing called? It was. I'll think of it. But that was like one of the few Ibanez amps that I was familiar with. Oh, Matthew, you're in Southern Utah. Right on. Now, forgive me if you've told me this before and I've recognized that. I do terribly with like reconciling who people are, especially if you like talk to me on Instagram and now you're on YouTube or something. Like I just cannot keep track of multiple usernames. So forgive me if we've had this conversation before. Get them for like 150 on Reverb. That's not a bad price. Is the 35 the wattage? Is that what that is about? Dang it, I'm so annoyed that I can't think of that. It started with a P, and it was like an alien movie. And it had Michael Fassbender in it. Gosh dang it, what the heck was the name of that movie? Alright guys, small detour. This is gonna bug the crap out of me if I can't remember. Alien franchise. We want the films. There was Prometheus. That's who. So there was that alien movie that was Prometheus, but then Ibanez also had an amp called the Prometheus bass amp. And I feel like we had one of those at the music store where I worked back in the early 2010s. And I don't remember very much about the amp other than it had a cool name. I don't remember if it sounded very good or not. See, this was right around the time where the Rumbles version 3 were coming out. It was like around 2012, I think, is when they came out. And I will say, like, the Rumbles version 2, didn't like them. I didn't think they were very good amp at all. They were just sort of blah, not much going for them, and they just... And then the V3s came out, the ones that they currently sell, and they were spectacular and still are. In fact, my main gigging amp is the Rumble 500, which I think is like probably one of the better amps you can get, just for all around, weekend warrior stuff, because it's super, super light, plenty powerful, and you can also use it just for home practice. I sometimes will kick it on and just practice here at the apartment. And here's my little tip for practicing bass in an apartment complex so you don't bother other people. Just turn the bass EQ knob way down to like 9 o'clock or so. And then the frequencies don't tend to like penetrate through the walls and bother people. that is my tip to you for apartment living. Otherwise, use headphones. You can go as loud as you want on headphones. But I know from like last summer where there were no gigs and I was playing in headphones a lot, I got super sick of it. So when I finally did have my first gig, it was like, oh my gosh, this is what sound is like. I have a Rumble 25 and a Rumble 100. I feel like my 100 is a bit money, but I haven't dove into the EQ very much. It's very possible, because most of my experiences from like 5-6 years ago with the other amps in the Rumble line, and then the Rumble 500 that I've owned for about a year and a half. Oh, the Rumble Studio 40 with digital modeling stuff is honestly a super great amp. Maybe not the best for gigs, but good for home use and recording. I have heard that from quite a lot of people. All the effects in that make it really good, and it has XLR out. So if you want to do recording or like run it through a PA, you can definitely do that. Okay, so I'll show you where we're at with this fretboard. Looks quite a lot different now that that's not covered in finger funk. Pretty good. Finger funk. Again, wash your hands before, like, and I'm kind of a chronic hand washer. Like, I'm not like a germaphobe or anything. I just hate the feeling of sticky fingers. Oh, it just drives me nuts. My fingers are a little sticky right now after having to deal with this, and I don't like it. Okay, so now we are going, where'd my toothbrush go? There it is. Use a little bit of the boar oil, and then work it into our fretboard with the toothbrush. I don't know how much of this we'll need. We're going to find out. Oh boy, probably less than that, I would say. Get it all over everything. They say a little goes a long way, and I can confirm that a little goes a long way. Okay, we'll probably work this in and then wipe up the excess with a fresh paper towel. But we're only going to use this on the front of the fretboard. The back of it is a lacquered maple, and so it will not absorb oil whatsoever. And I've heard that on maple necks you don't want to use oil anyway, being that it's not a very porous wood, so it doesn't absorb any of the oil anyway. It's 2:30 in the morning. Why am I here? 'Cause I'm a cool guy. Okay, so yeah, that was like not very much oil, and that easily coated my entire fretboard. I'm going to take another paper towel. We're going to wipe down the excess. I probably don't want to touch the back of this with my greasy hand here. Ooh, one thing that I forgot to mention as far as the tools go is this little thing. This little guitar stand. I basically stole that from my old job. But having like a way to support your guitar neck is actually a really nice thing if you're going to be doing this very much. One thing about maple boards, much easier to clean. Yeah, they're, like I said, not a very porous wood, and they're way less prone to pick up stuff or absorb things, so you don't ever need to condition them, from my understanding. Woo! Don't tip your oil over either. We'll shut that guy down. Guys, like, this one bottle is going to last me several lifetimes. Holy crap. You are pretty cool. Love the man bun. Hey, thanks. This is what a year with no haircuts looks like. I think my last haircut was middle of March, right before everything got shut down last year. King. Hey, Christian, what's going on, man? I'm surprised you're not gigging tonight. Or maybe you are, and you're still on your phone. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. Christian, by the way, is the keyboard player in the band that I am in. So everybody say hi to Christian, because he is a monster keyboard player. Ooh, and guitar player, I might add too. He's got a really cool album with a band called Cinder, based on Lord of the Rings. Christian, you ought to drop a link in the chat for that because it's worth a listen. It's really good. I think I might have shared it on Instagram a few times, but definitely go check it out if you like post-hardcore. My Jazz is rosewood and Jaguar is maple, one of each. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of fun to have a variety. I've seen pictures of people's they'll have family photo and they'll put all of their couches or all their bases on their couch, and it'll just be 8 P bases that are all basically the same. And it's like, why would you get so many of the same base? Variety, man. Why? Okay, so let me do. This is where we're at after the oil. You can see I scratched my fretboard a little bit there with the razor blade, but it'll be just fine. This is a cheap base. It's a good base, but gotta love the cheap things. $250. Okay. So while I've got the strings off, I'm also going to just wipe everything down, all the dust off. There's some buildup here on the pick guard. I'm going to go grab my secret weapon. I should have grabbed this earlier, but this is the trick that no one tells you. Yeah, you heard it. You heard it.
Yeah, good job.
So, for finishes on guitar, window cleaner, right?
I'm gonna put some Windex on it.
Yeah. Just like my Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Love that movie. It's so dumb.
But this will take all the fingerprints off, shine everything up. And it's something that you are likely to already have. So that's nice. And we'll be giving this another wipe down at the end too, because I'm going to be touching it a bunch. Got to get those glamour shots for Instagram, am I right? Just while we've got the strings off, we can get it here under the pickups and in through the bridge really good. Pick up some more of that dust. Okay, and then up here on the headstock, all the dust out of there. Okay. So at this point, I believe we are ready to put our new strings on. Oh wow, Taco's very excited to see my new strings. Did you see him jump for it? Wow.
So excited.
Okay. I'm going to just start with 105, the E string. Thread that through the bridge. And then the trick that I always use for cutting your string to the right length is to go 2 pegs past the one that you are on. So for the E string, I'm going to go up to the D string and cut it just past that one. That should give me enough to wrap 2 or 3 times around the tuning machine. So for these, we're going to stick it straight down into the hole that's in there and then crimp it straight that way. Give it a wrap. And I like to wrap top down. Let's see. Keep tension on that maybe as I switch hands here. And then put this dude on there. Whoop. Keep some tension on that. Trying very hard to not kink my string, because if I put a kink in it, it will not vibrate correctly. So we're just putting just a little bit of tension on it. It doesn't need to be up to pitch at this point. Sounded like a food wrapper, yeah. This dude is very motivated by food. He likes his treats, but all good boys do. I love that you could just like right here, like see him springing into action. Though he was ready to receive the treat. That's for sure. Okay, so we'll go all the way to 2 pegs past it, and I keep setting my peg winder way out of the road. So we'll go there, flip it. Keep that there. We'll stick that straight down into the hole. I love these split post tuning machines. They don't put them on guitars as often for whatever reason, and I think that is kind of an oversight because they're really nice. There were a couple of tellies that I would see them on from time to time. Okay. Let me just give you guys a close-up and you can see what my windings look like. You can judge my work here. So we've just got 2 very tidy windings. There you go. Okay. To the D string. Now, we get to this point, and you'll probably be asking yourself, how do we go 2 pegs past this one, because now we only have 1. And at this point, you can just kind of guess it. So you have about this much. So we'll just clip about the last 2 inches of that one off. There. Okay, I'm gonna have to move my mic a little bit here. And I don't know if this is like an official move, but this like way of keeping the tension on the string, it's kind of something I developed while I was doing setups back when I worked at Chesbro Music in Rexburg, Idaho. It's where I cut my teeth. Okay, last string. I know, right? It's not like the Zoomies, but it's pretty close to it, isn't it? So for this last string, I think it is a good length that we can just, don't even have to trim it. So we'll give it the one wrapped around there. Take out the slack here. Make sure that it's running through all of the channels that we want it to. Whoop. A little more tension on that string. And again, I'm not putting these all up to pitch. I'm just getting them up so that they have just a little bit of tension on them. I usually will go until the string will come straight off of there, like it's not bent off of the peg. I've done that same move for keeping tension. All right, yeah, so JD knows what's up. You're a pro. You probably know as much or more than I do about things. Okay, so strings on there. Oh, I need to put this under the string retainer here. And now, let's see, where did my cable go? Right here. We'll use my handy dandy tuner, and we're going to be using this quite a bit for the rest of the video. Both to do tuning, but also to do intonation. I forgot that I had a Zoomy sticker on the back of this thing. So I've had this since I was 14. I think this came with my first guitar, my Ibanez Geo, way back in, what year would that have been when I was 14? 2004? Yeah, 2000. I think it was Christmas of 2003 or 4. I'm not gonna say the thing though. I don't feel old at all. All right, so now we're gonna do the thing where I just brace myself for all of the strings to snap up and get me in the face. there. We're going to go just to the E. The string is going to stretch a little bit, so we'll have to go through this a couple times, but we'll just bring it up to pitch and no further than that. Just very slowly get to where we need to be. Go past E. You can, oh man, I don't even know if you can hear that right now, but you can hear it like come up to pitch and then bend back down as it stretches out. There's our G, we're up to A. Makes all these weird flexing noises. It's actually kind of unreal how much force is at play on one of these. We can feel the tension in chat, huh? Ooh. Something that's really funny about this bass in particular is that even though it is just like a cheap Squier, these are some of the best tuning machines I've ever had to deal with. They're very, very solid. Yeah, we're almost there. Ugh, I just hate doing this sometimes. I did this like every day for years, and I still just like... Please don't snap and take my eye out.
That's a real thing?
Usually when strings snap, the core will snap, but the winding around it will not. So usually what the string does is it just pulls apart like that, and the outer part stays together. It's still just in the back of your mind. You just think, this thing is going to whip up and kill me. But that never happens.
Safety glasses.
Because it never happens.
Oh, I would. Just because it would make me feel better.
The only thing I have ever injured myself on when working on guitars is poking myself with the ends of the string once they've been cut. Okay. Never on bass strings. They're thick enough that they won't do it, but on guitar strings, where they're a lot smaller, they will prick your finger. And then we're up to the G there. Okay, cool. We're more or less up to pitch, so we're just going to go back through all the strings here. Bring them back up to 440. Okay, we're feeling a little more stable here. What the heck was that noise?
He's so mad at me because I don't want to play with him right now.
Well, that is just a travesty.
No, I'm the worst.
See, my first bass was a Squier Classic Vibe P. For the money, it was impressive. Oh, very nice. Then it was the same as this one. Because that is exactly what this is. The Classic Vibe 60s, I believe it was. The thing that I changed on it was the pick guard. I didn't like the original like Tort one. The Tort on that was just not very good for whatever reason. So I went through, I had a checkerboard guard on here for a while. And then I switched it out for the white one. And that's what's been on it for the last, I don't know, 5-6 years. I think it's been six plus years even. Let's see how this feels just without any adjustments, just with the new string. Yeah, that actually feels pretty different. What I am noticing, though, is that the action feels a little bit higher right now, and I think that's because, you know, the fresh strings are exerting a little bit more pull on everything. And so now becomes the game of just like adjusting everything a little bit and going back and forth. I don't think we'll have to adjust the truss rod, but that is something you may have to do. Let's see, 70s Seafoam Green. Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Very nice basses, though. The classic vibes that they make now are not as good. I don't know what exactly changed. What I suspect happened is, so they used to have the classic vibe and the vintage modified. And the classic vibes were made in China, and the vintage modified Squiers were made in Indonesia. And they were the same price for a while. I think they were more or less the same price. They may have been like, either they were the same or the vintage modified were like $50 cheaper. But it was pretty widely understood that the classic vibes were a better bass than the vintage modified. And then I think it was in 2019 they changed the manufacturing factory for the classic vibes, and then they they had done away with the vintage modified. So essentially, they stopped making classic vibes and then just rebranded the vintage modified, which is what the current classic vibes are now. And they are all made in Indonesia. So if you're shopping for a classic vibe vase, I would absolutely, you check the back of the headstock here. Let's see if I can show you this on camera. Oh yeah, it's upside down there, but it'll say made in or crafted in China. And those are the ones you want. The ones that are made in Indonesia are just, frankly, not as good, unfortunately. Which is really a shame, because these were real gems. People were really impressed with them, and they continue to be impressed with them today. So, like, I don't have any fret edge problems. This bass has sounded great forever. Like I said, the tuning machines are really, really solid. The one thing that's really interesting on these is it's not like the standard vintage style Fender bridge. That tends to just be like a very thin piece of metal that comes up here. But you get a little bit more mass here on the bridge. And then the saddles are brass, which is a really cool touch. So this model specifically is really interesting. And then I also have the jazz bass version of this. It's the 60s jazz bass one. You've seen it on my channel as the white jazz bass that I've got. The fretwork actually felt nicer than my Fender Player Series when I first got it. Dude, totally. I actually took this bass in, and let me get a close-up on this. I took it into a guitar shop because I was actually missing this saddle screw here. So you can see that this one is actually a different color because I had to go in today and get a new one of that. And I was talking to the guy in there, and he asked, the only one that I have that will fit this and be the same size as everything is a black screw. Is that going to be okay if it looks different from the rest of it? And I said, yeah, it's fine. It's just a Squier. It's no big deal. And he's like, yeah, but this is a nice bass. Because he knew what it was. He understood the classic vibe fandom. Okay. Let's see. I think I got off track. I was rambling here. I was kind of like waiting for everything to kind of settle in here. So I'm actually going to tune everything up a little bit here, and we'll see where we're at. Basses tend to be a little bit more stable than guitars, and I don't know what to attribute that to other than just like thicker strings don't flex as much, maybe, but I don't know. Let's see. I had an Indonesian vintage modified bass and actually played pretty decent. Nothing like my American Jazz, decent for a beginner. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. I'm not like saying that the vintage modified basses were bad by any stretch. They were just not as good as the classic vibes. Oh, and what I was getting at with that guy at the shop today, he said like, oh man, those old classic vibes, they're so great. They're better than any of the modern Fender stuff that they're putting out today. And I would imagine he meant like anything that was like under $800, because like the Fender Player Series I think is not as good as the old Mexi basses back in the day. But like, we're splitting hairs at that point. Probably what we need to do, what all of us need to do, is practice a lot more than buy new gear. Okay, so I forget the order. It's been a little while since I've done this, but I need to just double check. Because there's a certain order that you are supposed to do all of these adjustments in to avoid, just to make it as efficient as possible. And I can't remember what you do first. I think we do action and then we do intonation last. Yes. Okay, I was right. I haven't really had to do this because I almost never change my strings up. Oop. Need to be on that side. Okay. Cool. So I did notice that when I was playing this just a second ago, it feels like these strings have just a little bit more tension on them than the other ones. And so they're pulling the neck this way. I mean, towards the bridge because of all that force on it. And the way that I like to think of the truss rod in this is that the truss rod is counteracting the force of the strings. So if the strings are pulling this way toward the front of the bass, the truss rod is pulling the neck away from the bass. So you can think of that like tightening the truss rod. So if we were to put an Allen key in there and tighten it, that will make the truss rod pull away from the strings. So depending on how your neck is sitting, you can adjust appropriately with your truss rod. So something that I like to do is just take my bass and then look down. And so you'll know that the strings are straight, but the neck will have just a slight curvature upward. And it looks good on that side. Oh, I might have just a slight twist in this neck. Because it definitely looks just a touch flatter on the G string side than it does on the E string side. But honestly, I'm not even going to mess with the truss rod, because what I'm seeing as I look down the neck is that the neck is very, very straight and then just has a very slight upturn just right here at the very end. And it's a little bit more pronounced on this side of it than on the G string side of it, but I'm not going to mess with it. I feel like that is probably going to do us good. Generally speaking, though, you do want just a very slight upward curve in your neck so that the strings don't experience fret buzz in this area. Now, if you're getting fret buzz above the 12th fret, then that's down here on your saddles, and you want to raise those up. And all of this together is called action. So I'm going to take my first Allen key, and this is so funny to me that I don't know if you can really even see that on camera very well, but like only one of these is even worn out at the bottom, and it's the one that fits the bridge on this. All the rest of these Allen keys like don't ever get used. This one happens to be the 1.5 millimeter Allen key. Oh, did I grab the wrong one? I totally did. The numbers are all squished together. There we go. Look at this dinky thing. There's just nothing to it. But anyway, this is what fits these saddles here. So I'm just going to go down the line. Whoop. And we're going to pull these screws out slightly, which will allow the saddle to go further down towards the body of the bass, and therefore reduce our action. And you want to do more or less the same adjustment on both sides so that they're level. So I'm just doing these about a half a turn on all of them, and then we're going to play at the neck and see if we hear any fret buzz. Okay, good so far. I can tell just by playing that this G string needs to go down a little more too, though. It feels like it's pretty high off the neck, so I'm going to spin that out quite a bit. It's got a little ways to go. Generally speaking, you want to make tiny adjustments as you go, though. And for me, I like to just drop the strings as low as they will go until they buzz and then just raise them up from there. Because I like my action is, I guess they call it fast. Fast action. And you can actually get away with just a tiny bit of fret buzz. I feel like people are so afraid of fret buzz. And you'll hear it definitely acoustically on a bass. But a lot of times, if you have just a slight amount of fret buzz, even if you can hear it acoustically, it won't be coming through your amp hardly at all. I should push this up a little bit so that the camera can see it. Yeah, long story short, you can get away with a little more fret buzz than you might think. Okay, I think, yeah, I don't have any more tension on that. I think that is as low as that screw will go. So I'll just drop it down so where it's just touching that channel in there. Okay, and that is as low as that one will go. I normally put a capo on my first fret, hold down the E string at the 17th, and then use a .12 feeler gauge at the 7th fret to set my neck relief. That is the appropriate way to do it. I have never used rulers or measurements, but if you want to do it the right way or the precise way, that is how you do it. I go purely by feel, though. And maybe that is to my detriment, but that's just how I've always done it. And at this point, it's always worked for me, so we'll just keep doing it that way. Okay, so the other thing that's happening as I'm adjusting these down is that my strings are going flat. And that is okay, but this is just like the song and dance, the back and forth that you get with strings when you're adjusting stuff. So I'm just going to drop all of these a little more. I don't know that I can go much further on my E string. Let's see. Greg Lee, my Fender P-Bass, when I slap the string, makes a noise. The string hitting the fretboard. When you slap, that's actually exactly what you want. Because when you're putting this action into it, you're pushing the string down into it, and that's what's giving that percussive element of slap. So it's kind of what you want when you're doing that style of playing. So let's tune this up and get it back up to tension. Because we were just about a quarter step flat on all of these. Looking good. Looking good. That sounds a little nasty there. So I think we'll have to raise up these two inner ones a little bit. And I think I'm going to have to raise that one up too a little bit too. I'm going to say the same words over and over and over again. Oh no. Oh, there's my Allen key. Whew, I thought I lost that. That would have been a tragedy. Okay, so we're going to push these back up just a little bit because I was feeling some fret buzz around the 9th fret. Okay, I'm just gonna that feels a little better. I cannot get my hand to figure out the slap technique. I honestly avoided slap for a very long time, so I 100% relate. I just thought it was like, you know, like how tapping on a guitar, like it's this kind of like fun party trick, but not actually useful. That's how I thought of slap for a long time. And so I just like, I don't want to learn it because it's a stupid flashy technique and I just want to play bass. And I was in a pop punk band at the time. So there was no reason for me to ever use slap. I got good at a pick and that's what I wanted to do. But since now that I'm in a funk neo soul Motown band, I've been learning slap a little bit more. I'm not great at it, but I can like fake my way okay. But there are basically like two ways to do it. And actually, if you want to dig into it, Josh Fosgreen, who does Bass Buzz, his video on learning how to do slap is really, really good. I would go and check that out. Because he explains both like the flea method, which is the method that I use, where your thumb goes parallel with the strings, so like out. But then there's also where you have like thumb up, which is more like the Marcus Miller sort of technique, and that gives you a better like double thumb, but like or the thumb down or like hand down. This is more like how I do it. I'm not explaining that very well. You should just go watch Josh because he's so much better at it. Let's see. But yeah, I'm still working on slap. I'm not a great slapper yet. Davey would be disappointed. Let's see. I get buzz below the 12th fret, like 14, 15, 17. What is the cause? That sounds like your neck relief is not proper. So probably what's happening is you need to loosen your truss rod. And when you're messing with your truss rod, that is one adjustment where you absolutely have to go very, very slow with it. So I would loosen it no more than like a quarter turn at a time, and then give it like 5 minutes to sort of just like relax and then see where you're at there. But yeah, basically loosen your truss rod if you're getting buzz in this area of the neck, below the 12th fret. Oh, you mean 14, 15, 17. Oh, you were talking at the higher part of the neck. If you're getting buzz up here, then you need to raise your bridge saddles. But again, all of this stuff is sort of like interrelated. Check your neck relief and make sure that it's got that very, very slight upward curve, and then raise your saddles down here as needed. That's what I almost told you wrong, but thank you for the question, Mike. Let's see, Naki 2. To be honest, I'd probably say even if you use the flea method, it's good to learn the other because it helps with double thumbing. Yeah, and that's why I mentioned both. I didn't even know that there were two slap techniques for the longest time, because really the only person that the only band I listened to that even did slap was the Chili Peppers. I was a very homogenous music listener when I was learning how to play bass. I listened to like rock music and pop punk, and that was it. Like that was all I listened to. And like the Chili Peppers were like the only, like, they were sort of punk, but like had that funk element to them. And so like he was the only slapper I even really knew. I had no idea who like Larry Graham was when I was learning bass. Hey, no problem at all, Mike. Thank you for the question. Okay. So now that we're pretty well happy with the action on our bass, now we need to do intonation. Now, intonation is basically the length of your string and determining that the tuning is consistent up the neck. So you cannot change the position of your frets, and so you have to compensate for the pitch by adjusting the length of your string. Thanks for getting back to me, Greg from London. Thanks for being here, Greg from London. You're up so late. I appreciate it, though. Okay, so to check our intonation, we are going to fret our string at the 12th fret. And it looks like, maybe I can put this up here in such a way that you guys can see it there on the screen. But we are sharp, just a tiny bit. Okay, and this one takes me a second to wrap my mind around too. So if we're sharp, then that means that our string is too long. So we need to make the string shorter to make it flat, I think. So that's where we're going to use our Phillips head screwdriver and come in here to the bottom. And then we need to push it out this way. So we're going to go left and pull the saddle out. So because there's tension on that, it won't want to move. So I was pulling the string up so that would move where I want it to go. Now we need to tune the open string, make sure that it is right on. Okay, and we got a little bit closer, but we are still just a bit sharp. So we're going to loosen this screw again. 2 turns. And then tune our... Just past 3 in the morning in the UK. I'm going to go to sleep. Have a good stream. Thank you so much, Naki. I think we'll try and do this again sometime. This has been fun. I haven't been doing any streaming on YouTube. This is my first one. And so far, I think it's going pretty good. If it's sharp, the string is too short, I thought. Okay, I get so confused about this. Because I think we're getting closer. Yeah. Gotta go another turn or two. We're getting right all the way to the end of what I can adjust here, though. Might just have to be good enough. Hey! Nope, we are almost right on there. Just the tiniest bit sharp, but, and I will show you this on the close-up cam. We are all the way to the end of how far I can adjust this. Oh, come on, focus. So basically, I cannot extend that saddle out any further, unfortunately. So that is as close to perfect as we're going to get it on that string. Go away. Okay, cool. All right, let's go to the A string. So there, we're sharp. Right on there, and we'll fret at the 12th. Okay, and you'll see we're hearing a good amount of fret buzz there. So we need to raise this saddle up a bit. Give that a turn on that side, give that a turn on that side. There, now that's ringing without any buzz. Bring it back to pitch. And this one seems to be about right on, actually. No? Were you a touch sharp on that? I'm all the way at the end of that one, too. It seems close enough that I'm just going to leave it be, though. All right, we'll come to the D string. Bring that to pitch. It's a little sharp. And that one seems to be a little flat. I think I'm tuned just a bit flat, though. Yeah, we are just a bit flat. So we're going to tighten this screw, which will bring our saddle back in. And I'm not going to go any further than that, just like one turn. Oh, looks like we got to go a little further than that. Bassius, wait, what? I can't afford to wait. I got to watch the rest of the boys tonight. You guys seen that show? Oh my gosh. We just started watching it like the other day and we are blown away.
Do not watch it if you don't like gore.
Yeah, there's a lot of gnarly stuff in that show. It's super fun though. God, I'm still flat there. Just tuning in, doing intonation, laying down is no bueno. It's going to change in playing position. It will change when gravity pulls on the neck. That was not something I had considered. But let's check it out. Second season is great. Awesome. Got lots to look forward to. We're just barely getting through the first one. So thank you. The Bassius, if you guys are not aware, is Dr. Denson Angelo, who was in my video that I just put out about acoustic basses. So if anybody knows anything about bass, it is him. He is a doctor, after all. So adjust this back down. Looks like everything's still flexing. Ooh, see, like we're way sharp there, but I can't go any further on that saddle, unfortunately. The A string's good. Seems like we're still touch flat there. Pull this out. Cool, good enough for me. Do the G string. And it looks like our G string is pretty dead on too. Cool. Just watched that video when waiting for the stream to come on. Cool. What did you think? I know it may seem like I've made it like my life's goal to ridicule and make acoustic players feel bad about themselves, but that's just not the case. I just think a lot of people expect more of acoustic basses and then get disappointed when they actually get one. There are definitely people at a high level who can use acoustic basses really, really well and do cool stuff, but that is not me, and that has never been the experience of most of the people I've ever talked with. Yes, but yeah, big thank you to Denson. That was such a fun video to make, and it was really great to have his expertise and his uh, um, knowledge on the topic. Because the everything that he's doing with the upright is just like wizardry to me. It's super great. Yeah, we're hoping to get together and do another video here soon. Got a couple of ideas brewing, and we'll see what we come up with. Um, see, are we done? I think we're ready to go. I think that got everything all done. Oh, you know what? I was gonna do one other thing and I forgot. I might have to do that later because these pots here are really dusty and they make a lot of noise when I twist them around. And I've got some contact cleaner in my closet, but I might have to just pull the pick guard up just a little bit and get in behind and clean those up from this end. But anyway, yeah, now my bass is ready to go. Let's just say I got really into the idea of owning an acoustic bass, so I got one 6 months later, sold it. Yep, that is the classic acoustic bass experience. I feel like my ex had one, and that was the one that I used in my old video, and I never got along with that instrument. I always thought it was really useless. Any tips? I bought my Fender P bass last year. I'm learning at 70, never too late. Congrats, dude. That's awesome. I would just say play every day. I think being consistent about your playing is the most important thing you can do. It'll help with your stamina, your endurance, but also just chipping away at it day by day will help your learning more than it's better to practice 10 minutes every day than to practice 6 hours one day, in my opinion. So just chip away at it, be patient with yourself, and just learn music you really like to listen to. That's my tips for learning bass at any age, really. Is this the first instrument that you've ever learned, Greg? Or do you have a musical background before this? That's really interesting. That's good for you, man. Yeah, this feels really good, actually. Man, I should have done a before and after with the new strings and the fretboard cleaned up, but I did not have the foresight to do that. That feels pretty good, and that neck looks pretty great too. Let's put the close-up cam on that and see what you guys think. Boop, come on, there it is. Wow. So clean. Wow. So this is the stage at which I would probably bust out the Windex again. So, and I always say to spray on your cloth and not on the thing you're cleaning. And then just wipe down so you get rid of all the fingerprints. But I think I will do that later. This bass is not exactly a looker anyway. You can see it's got a fair share of, I don't know, character marks. It's been dropped several times. I don't know what the heck that is on the bottom there. Some gunk on it. Yeah, this thing spent a lot of weekends in smoky bars in Idaho for years. It's got a lot of little dings and stuff in the back. No buckle rash on the back though. It's got to count for something. I feel like I. Yeah, you've never heard of buckle rash? No, buckle rash is back when people would wear like big belt buckles. It would rub on the middle of the back of your bass, and so you'd always end up with this giant patch of bare wood on the back. It's a really common problem on vintage basses. I don't know, some people like it. But yeah, I've like taken a bunch of chunks out of the headstock. Like, this is just what happens when you have a working man's bass. But I love this thing. This is probably one of my favorite basses I've ever owned, and I will never ever sell it. part of me wishes that I still had my first bass that I ever had. But in my mind, I kind of consider this my first bass because I've just had it the longest, and it was at the point where I bought it when I really finally considered myself a bass player. You know what I mean? It was at this point where I was like, you know what? I'm sold. I'm doing it. Because the Ibanez that I bought was just like, well, I gotta have something so I can play bass. But this was the bass that I bought when I was like, I am a bass player. Let's see, playing bass actually took me outside my music box and listening to different styles of music now. That's awesome. That's super awesome. I feel like if you're ever looking for music that features bass, that will definitely inspire you to like seek other stuff out. Like I never really got hardcore into jazz or anything, but like crazy like walking bass lines and then like really understanding how the bass changes the character of a chord and just things like that. Or if you were like me and you just like listen to exclusively like rock and metal and stuff, when you finally discover funk for the first time, you just, what? Oh man, like what was it in 20? I feel like it was in 2012. I saw a video of Wolfpack playing Beastly, and it was shortly after they'd uploaded that video. The YouTube algorithm like blessed me and said, "Hey, here's this band called Wolfpack. Check them out." And yeah, I was a hardcore Wolfpack fan very early on, and it's been really cool to see them just grow and grow and grow throughout the years. Absolutely deserve it. And like understanding Joe Dart as a player will lead you into a lot of other really great music because his influences are not at all what I listened to growing up. So his is like Tower of Power and shoot, what's the other band? Because there's a lot of that Rocco Presteria stuff in Joe Dart, just like that constant 16th note stuff that's really, really great. What was the other big one that I cannot remember the name of the other band he always mentions in his influences. Thank you. I like Sting. Sting is a monster player. Holy crap. Because he plays some really killer bass lines and has a great singing voice on top of it. And like keeping all of that straight, like that's really, really impressive. Oh, Greg, you also play piano. Hey, that was me too. I played piano for about 10 years. That was the first instrument I ever learned. And then I picked up guitar as a teen, and then bass when I was a late teen. Jocko, yeah, duh. I was thinking of it like Weather Report. That's what I was trying to think of. Djembe and drums. Crap. Oh yeah, so you got the rhythm stuff on lock, man. Bass is gonna come so easy to you. And you already know how to learn an instrument if you play piano and drums. Like, you've got this, man. I wouldn't worry about a thing. You know how to do it. Just practice. Oh, okay. You guys can probably hear that my voice is going. It's funny that I can only keep this up for an hour. Like, people on Twitch stream for hours and hours, and I can't even go an hour and a half before my voice just completely goes. Shows you how much of a wimp I am. But this was super fun. I think we will do lives again. I will probably like announce those on my Instagram. So if you're not already following me on there, do that. And then I'll try and do a little bit more notice on the lives. I know I did this like, what was it? I think I decided to do it yesterday. Yeah. I'll try and schedule these like a week in advance, and then we'll do that. I had an idea for just like, if you guys wanted to come hang out while we like just shop on the local, it's called KSL for us, but it's basically like Craigslist, and just see what we find. I only ever go look at it every once in a while, but that might be fun to do on stream. We'll have some drinks, have some laughs, see what's available for sale, and roast everybody else's instruments. Let's see. My first instrument was trombone. Got to high school and they didn't have a bass player in the jazz band, so I offered to do it. Best decision ever. Nice. So I played piano first, but then when I got into junior high, I wanted to play trumpet. So I bought a trumpet over the summer and I was ready to go. And then that fall, they fired the band director, and so we did not have a band program. And so I never learned to play trumpet. I just had one. I think Luke ended up playing it. My younger brother ended up playing trumpet, but I never did get to learn it. Let's see. I was pretty much into punk and hardcore, which is either really boring or really hard to play. Yeah, Matt Freeman, Fat Mike, or maybe what made me pick up the bass, dude. Yeah, Matt Freeman is awesome. I'm not as familiar with Fat Mike, Yeah, like Matt Freeman and Rancid. In fact, I think. Oh, I don't have the strap out anymore. I have a strap that was a Rancid strap. I don't think I have it out here anymore. I have it bundled up in the closet, I think. Conga's multicolored stripe. Dude, you've got the entire rhythm section on lock. That's awesome. Let's see, what was the like my biggest influence when I was starting out, and this one seems pretty weird considering like I was so big into rock, but Tony Kanal of No Doubt. That's where that was my big inspiration when I first started playing bass. Is I listened to Tragic Kingdom like constantly, and I always felt like a little bit guilty about it when I was a teenager because it's like, well, this is girl music. But like Tragic Kingdom is a stupid good album, start to finish. If you haven't ever listened to Tragic Kingdom, go listen to that album because oh my gosh, Tony Kanal is a beast, but it's also just fantastic songwriting. Oh, there's so much good stuff on that. Love, 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 love that album. Listen to it all the time. Oh my gosh, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh my hell.
You're starting to sound like a smoker.
This just goes to show you how little I talk. I just sit here at home by myself all day and don't say a word. I say good morning to you, and then I don't say anything else until I say, welcome home.
And then we sit down and watch TV.
Gotta go later. Text me and let's plan something. Yes, definitely. Within the next week or two, we will absolutely get together and we'll film something. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for me. Thank you all so much for hanging out while we set up this bass. I'm going to try and record some stuff this week with it, and we'll see how she performs. I'm pretty excited about it. But anyway, stay safe out there. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll catch you later. AMP, the bass player, out!